My name's Katie, and I am a case manager at Open House Ministries and a recipient of the program of Open House Ministries. I had a great life growing up. I had a mom who was a 5th grade teacher, and my dad was a principal at Evergreen High School, which is where I graduated in 1999. I started doing meth when I was 18. I wouldn't say that I was an addict right away. It took about a year or so to become a full-on addict, and I would say at that point I was a functioning addict. I lost all the functioning addict capabilities a couple years into my addiction, and I was no longer able to hold a job. I couldn't provide for myself at all, and my grandmother graciously allowed me to come stay with her. Upon staying with her, I started taking advantage of her, and I started stealing from her. I was caught twice by law enforcement stealing from her. The second time, I was put in jail for 6 months, and from jail, I went to prison. When I landed in prison in Gig Harbor, I realized 2 things: that I definitely belonged in prison for that season of my life, but 2, I never wanted to go back there. It wasn't a place I ever wanted to feel at home at. I met 2 women there who are my dear friends to this day, and they reintroduced me to God through Bible study and just ministering to me in prison. While I was there, I started writing letters to different places in Vancouver, different Oxford houses, asking for them to accept me into their program. I received a letter back from Open House Ministries. I had no idea what Open House was, what their program was about, who they were. I just knew that God wanted me to go there. So I took my letter to my prison counselor and I said, "God wants me to go here." And he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yes." So he called Open House and he set it up so that when I got out of prison on February 13th, 2014, that Renee would pick me up from the train station. And I got off the train. I had no idea what Renee looked like, and I was nervous, and I'm sure Renee could spot me from a mile away. I was the scared, anxious-looking girl with all my worldly possessions in a box that was labeled Property of Washington State Correctional Center for Women. And I got off that train, and she took me home to Open House, where she took me up to my room, and it was mine. It was a small apartment that was all my own. I had my own kitchen, my own bathroom. And that night I sat at the table and I wrote to my girlfriends in prison and I said, "You won't believe where I am, and you won't believe what God's going to do in my life." And I'll let you know that during my year away, Jesse and I had 2 children who were taken away by CPS and placed into the foster care system. But upon arriving back in Vancouver, I worked really hard and I set up visits with them and I started seeing them again. Jesse, my then boyfriend, my now husband, came to live with me in July of 2014. And we got married in October of 2014. Our children, Olivia and Jackson, came home in February of 2015. And we had our final child, Max, at the end of March in 2015, and he was born 2.5 months early. So we then left in April of 2015 to our own house. We just took everything the Open House had to offer, the beautiful restoration and hope that they have to offer, and we ran with it. We loved everything they did for us. And so, with that being said, our life has been an absolute blessing of restoration and hope. When in August and September, I was feeling like there was more that I was supposed to be doing in life. I was happy as a stay-at-home mom, but I wasn't really feeling filled. So I was praying in September, and I no sooner had I prayed the prayer that God showed me that there was an opening at Open House Ministries for a case manager position. And I called the director, Renee, and I said, "Hey, what do you think? Do you think I could do this? And I don't know if I'm qualified for it." And Renee said to me, "I've always believed in you. And God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called." With that being said, I interviewed for the position and they offered it to me. And I am now a case manager at Open House Ministries, the very place that helped turn my life around by the amazing grace of God. My Bible verse for my life is Philippians 4:13, and it is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.